All right, so now we discuss our first policy implication, which is what are the welfare implications of a price ceiling. And let's say we have a price ceiling of 4. Okay, so we have a price ceiling of 4. So what that means is that the government says the price, we know that the market equilibrium price is 6, but the government may say, you know, if the price is 6, there are too many people in our country that are vulnerable, they can't afford to pay 6. So therefore, in order to help those vulnerable people, we set the price artificially at 4. And so at the price of 4, the price must never exceed 4 in the market. So that is a price ceiling. So as you can see, a price ceiling is a price which the government sets. So it basically distorts the market. And the government says the price must never be more than 4. Okay, so now what happens at the price of 4? So now we do again our welfare analysis. Okay, so we have again our parameters and the value. Well, even though the market equilibrium price was 6, well, now we have to use the government price of 4. So the price is now 4. Okay, so but now at the price of 4, what is quantity supplied? Before, in the equilibrium, quantity supplied was 4, and that was also quantity demanded. But at the price floor of 4, how much is quantity supplied? QS? Well, that is only 2. What about quantity demanded? At the price of 4, quantity demanded is 6. Okay. So normally, if the government wouldn't mess around with the market, we know that this excess demand would push up the prices until we reach 6. But now we can't do that because there is a law that says the price must not be more than 4. And everyone who sells at a price higher than 4 goes to jail or so. Okay, so now the question is, how much is the quantity turned over? So the quantity TO, so TO, how much is actually being produced and sold? So TO stands for turned over. So obviously, if the producers only put 2 units of whatever good into the shelves, well, but you know, people would like to have 6, the quantity turned over is still only 2. So that means because the quantity turned over is only 2, we need to conduct our welfare analysis to a quantity of 2. So the quantity turned over is 2. Okay, so now what is now consumer surplus? We know consumer surplus is everything below the demand function, where we have people's willingness to pay, and above the price, all the way to the quantity turned over. So in this case, consumer surplus is, let's see if I can draw that here. So we have on top of here, we have a little triangle. Okay, so let's make that green, and let's also make it a little bit transparent. Okay. And then we also have a rectangle. So that goes down here. Okay, now we can copy hopefully that format from here. Okay, so now this green area is total consumer surplus. Okay, so consumer surplus is now this rectangle, which is 4 times 2, that's 8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus this triangle, 2 times 2, 4 over 2, that's 2, so 8 plus 2 is 10. You still remember what we had in the market equilibrium? Well, in the market equilibrium, total consumer surplus was 8. So that means the consumers actually do win plus 2 in welfare. Okay, but what about the producer surplus now? So the producer surplus is everything below the price and above the supply function, which captures the willingness to sell, all the way up to the quantity turned over. So now we have here this triangle, and this was blue. And how big is this producer surplus? Well, this producer surplus is 1, 2 times 2. It's now only 2 times 2, 4 over 2 is 2. So you still remember how much producer surplus was in the market equilibrium? Well, it was this blue area here, and producer surplus was 8. So that means we went down from 8 to 2, which is a loss of 6. Okay, so it looks like that if the government wants to help the vulnerable people and protect them from the high market equilibrium price of 6, yeah, the price ceiling somewhat accomplishes this objective, because consumer surplus goes up by 2. But then again, it comes at a pretty high price, because the producer surplus lose more, namely 6, than what the consumers win. So there must be what we call a deadweight loss. And that deadweight loss is -6, but actually before I draw the deadweight loss, let's first add up the total surplus or welfare. So now welfare is only 12. And of course, in the market equilibrium, welfare was 16. So that means we dropped from 16 to 12, which is a loss of 4. And that loss of 4 is what we call a deadweight loss. So the deadweight loss is 4, or -4. Okay, so, and of course you can probably already sense where this deadweight loss is. The deadweight loss is this area. Because this area, this triangle, maybe I can draw it. So this okay, let's see if that works. Okay, so this area, let's make it maybe, I don't know, dark gray, because it's something bad. Fill. Okay, so this gray area, that all used to be consumer surplus, so specifically this little triangle here that used to be consumer surplus, but that's now lost. And this triangle here below that used to be producer surplus, that's also lost. So in other words, we have a loss of welfare which can be attributed to the lower reduction or to the reduction of output or to the reduced economic activity that the price floor, the price ceiling, has created. So this gray area is what we call a deadweight loss. Okay, so before that video gets too long, I hope that is clear. And let's continue in the next video with the price floor, which is in logic very similar to the price ceiling, but I'll just stop here.